Hello, my name is Daniel Dopierala and this is my individual process video. The areas that I've chosen to focus on are English and music. My group and I, for our installation, chose the 12 Dancing Princesses from the Brothers Grimm tale. We chose it because it's a classical fairy tale and it might not be as well known today, so you can come to it without any real preconceptions and you can really come to it with a clean slate in terms of your approach to it. I was tasked with creating some music, something I was really excited about. So in a few moments I'll show you a bit of a keyboard tutorial I've done just for some really easy staccato and legato music that you can really create with your kids, which is really good. And another case in which I'll show you how students can make music, and this can be done whether it's on the piano or even on the xylophone, which is sort of your two instruments that you're probably most likely to find in schools, piano being probably a keyboard most likely. And in any case, for our fairy tale, I came up with some trotting and prancing music, something like a polka française that the Strauss brothers popularised in Vienna. And here is an example of me on the keyboard. So now I'll show you an example of something that the students could do in class that's really simple, especially for some background music if you're using it for an activity such as accompaniment to a fairy tale. So even the C major chord, which is C, E, G, and notice I'm playing at the top end of the keyboard, so it's a bit of higher notes, so it'd be really good for some soft music in the background, as I mentioned. So that is our C major chord. C, E, G, E, C, E, G, E, C. And then, just for something simple, and you always have to start with basics, but something that actually sounds really nice and it's just more than one note. So that's why I'm using the 3 notes as per each chord. So this time I've got a D minor chord. So although that's a minor chord, you can still make it sound cheerful because at times minor chords can sound a bit more dramatic. But in any case, we've got D, F, A, F, D. Let's go back to the C major chord. And if you combine the C and the D and doing it one note at a time, you can actually create a piece of music. And then to the D. So notice. And there was an example of pretty much a waltz. So waltz is a dance music and there is a dance scene within the 12 Dancing Princesses, so that's pretty appropriate. And as I showed you in that keyboard tutorial, it's so easy to do with your kids and you don't really need a musical background, so even the teacher doesn't have to be a music teacher. I think anybody can really do that if they really try. I think it's really simple. And that waltz was a very happy and fortunate thematic element. So similarly, you might want to even try In the Hall of the Mountain King by Grieg. So I've actually included that in our installation video in one of our scenes, sort of going through the forest and so forth. And it's really good because it's got different tonal elements and it's written in both minor and major keys, and it's a very popular tune in terms of classical music. So classical music, it doesn't mean you always have to use classical music. Any type of music has its roots in classical music, so it's just pretty much orchestral music. And also, there's never any stipulation which kind of music will ever suit a scene. It's up to the creator, that is the story creator, and the music creator, that be the composer or arranger, to add a dimension to the story not already necessarily present. So for example, there's a long-standing tradition in theatre to have musical accompaniment, and even during the silent era of cinema, music played a foundational part in the entertainment aspect, and it drove the story, emotions, characters, and settings. I mean, music is really a storytelling tool in itself in some ways. And this is by all means present in all types of storytelling, including fairy tales from long ago, such as the 12 Dancing Princesses. And in terms of Oswald's, there is a lot in there
that really encourages teachers to let students, be really creative. I think that's a word that I've used throughout this presentation, but I think it's a really important term. So even in terms of like from grades 3 to 6, it's really creating and making as well as exploring and responding, whereas in earlier grades, it's pretty much creating and making, which are both really stepping stones to creating music anyway. And I really like how in Oswald's, it says in level 4, students explore art processes. So they're essentially developing their knowledge through practice and trialing new ideas, which is really important. So trial and error and practice in the sense where they can try new things. So I think that's really important. And also, I found it really good to see that in level 5, Oswald's encourages students to create music in a group context, so such as a band, it can be a quartet, a trio, anything together and really working together. I think that's what music is really about. And it's an excellent opportunity for students to further explore musical concepts. Interestingly, Kutsupidu believes as students become older, they're able to come up with compositions. She also notes that composition may differ from improvisation, and that is very much in line with my thoughts on the matter. I would also say that improvisation can lead to composition, and this represents the skill set that shifts from one skill to the next. Improvising is really a skill, and it's sort of a stepping stone from improvising to composition to even performance, and performance is obviously also key. So it's almost like a whole series of steps that music consists of. Marzano writes that teachers, even without knowing or perhaps realising, can get students motivated just from sheer enthusiasm on their part. So like really just being excited, I think, can really help drive that. Just like with anything, there might be teachers who might not be as excited about it if they're not well versed in this field of expertise. But you don't have to be an expert to be musical, which that's my opinion. Harvey and Baker put forth the notion that music can imbue a kind of unity, which can forge collaboration and friendship in the primary classroom. So as I was mentioning on the previous slide, it's about working with others, practicing with others, performing with others. And as I mentioned, a positive attitude is always important and key. Woolfolk and Margetts talk about Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. They say that there are at least 8. And certainly one that comes to my mind is bodily kinesthetic when it comes to music, and a whole range of others. Music is a very multitasking thing and very multi-dimensional as well. And so naturally, Piaget's theory can also be considered in connection with good teaching in general. So not music, but just in teaching in general. And, there's Piaget's belief that education should form and not furnish the minds of students. And Woolfolk and Margetts also state that the learning how to learn is the main priority for children at school. And really, that's what Piaget is about, just sort of learning how to learn, and through practices, as I mentioned previously. And the zone of proximal development is an ideal way to describe this situation where students can thrive with the necessary help and support that's required to carry out a particular task. So in terms of music, it's about, let's say if you're paired in a group of 2 and you're playing the xylophone, and you can learn from each other, watch each other, and that is the students, that is, and really learn very much in terms of the environment and the people around you that help you learn. Bruner found that children can learn when attention is alerted to a particular subject. And Bruner also states that learning is not spontaneous, as outlined by Takaya's study of Bruner. Takaya writes that Bruner countered Piaget's view that children are egocentric and gradually become more aware of their realm by stating that students are very much in tune with what is happening at an early age. So that's something really good to note as well in terms of music. The earlier, the better. Getting students really enthused early on is the best way to really will help them succeed, because I think everyone should have the opportunity to have music in their lives. And it's a really good learning tool, and it's just so beneficial in so many ways. Music is relaxing. It's almost a form of exercise, and through practice and concentration, it's good for so many cognitive things. And I was even looking at Robinson. Robinson concurs with Gardner's view that there are at least 8 multiple intelligences, and Robinson writes that Gardner proposed there may be more. And Ken Robinson concludes that intelligence is complexly multidimensional. So there's that word multidimensional that I used a couple of slides ago. And it can also refer to music because music is so wide-ranging in terms of the skill set you need. And it's not a skill set you come to it naturally. It grows and develops over time. So I think that's really important too. And I talked about waltzes as well. And there's a bit of history there on waltzes from Thompson, 2001, and it was really popular during the Romantic period, and that's sort of the time where in which the 12 Dancing Princesses was first authored by the Brothers Grimm. And I also mentioned how Hargraves talks about the body kinesthetic intelligence, and it really refers to music appropriately and fittingly because it's all about movement, making and creating and communicating through body language, and just it is hands-on learning, and even playing the piano is very much hands-on learning. And I just wanted to end by showing the sheet music to Mozart's Symphony No. 5. Mozart was 9 years old and sick in bed in The Hague when he composed his Symphony No. 5. And it's a fantastic piece of music, and although not all kids can be Mozarts, I think it's really good to really motivate them to be young Mozarts, to really create and help them thrive musically, because it's so beneficial and it's so much fun as well, and it's very educative in itself. Thanks for your attention, and there are my references. Thanks very much.